Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of SuperShares powered by Q. Today is the beginning of Spring Q Week. This is like our Super Bowl that we've been planning for months and months and months. Actually, we've been planning this since the end of Spring 22 to bring you Spring 23. And only 3 short days. That's right. Today's Monday, then Tuesday, then Wednesday. And on Thursday, the day begins where Spring Q is finally here. That's right. This week, between March 16th and 18th, we have 3 amazing days, 2 amazing keynotes. D. Lanier is going to be kicking us off on Thursday, March 16th, to talking about his lessons that he's learned from his hip hop heroes. And also the amazing Dr. Sanal Patel is going to be here, and she's going to be talking about how to educate to eradicate. And back by popular demand, we have our community celebration happening on Saturday, Ratterday, the end of the conference, where we're going to be playing games and giving out prizes. So if you haven't registered and you're in the area, register today. But one of the amazing things that we love to do in Spring Q Week is to bring you some of the amazing products and ideas and vendors that you can see on the exhibitor floor. Some of these amazing tools will really help transform the way that you approach teaching, maybe in some ways that you haven't even thought of yet or have seen but don't know how to actually implement it. That's why we have experts here to walk you through how to do that. And one of the amazing companies we'll be having at Spring Q is Samsung. And so I have Micah here from Samsung. Micah, welcome, my friend. How are you doing today?
Wow, Joe, you're a tough act to follow. I'm just thought my heart rate just started pumping up with the whole intro. So thank you for that. I'm super stoked to be part of Q this year. I've been in the ed tech space for about 7 years as a consultant, and I've never been to Q. I don't know how, but I haven't hit Q. So this is my first one. Samsung's been great to me, and I can't wait to tell you about that. But first, I want to share with my fellow teachers out there. 1 year ago today, I was teaching American history, 8th grade, taught it for 22 years. So just a year ago, I found myself in the classroom trying to motivate and engage my students using the latest and greatest, and constantly inspired by the awesome things coming out of Q, shifting its way all the way to Syracuse, New York, where I'm from. So thank you for the work you're doing. I can't wait to amplify it here at Samsung.
Yeah, Mike, I want to say for a second that I love your story, not only because you come from that education background and what you're going to share with us, makes a difference in the classroom, but you also said something that really resonates with me. And that is, this is going to be your first time at Q. And do you know that 80% of the attendees, this is their first time at Spring Q?
Wow.
And so,
all right,
we have to bring it. We have to bring it. And that's why we always do our
at this point.
Yeah.
That's so great. I mean, I have been preaching the greatness of Q with my Samsung colleagues, saying how important it is to tap into an amazing network of educators that really, I don't know if you all realize the role you play on influencing the ed tech consulting and coaching space throughout the United States and internationally. And perhaps it goes without saying, but for me as an upstate New Yorker, I have found my practice heavily influenced by the thought leadership that comes out of Q. And I'm not just saying that, I'm serious. So I'm really grateful for the work you're doing. And at Samsung, we've got some cool stuff going on. I'd like to share a little bit with you today. I have found myself as the director of education technology consulting and solutions at Samsung, which means I'm not sales. I have a chance to work with 8 education coaches and 1 full-time technical support serviceman. And our role is really to help amplify the great work already being done in the classroom using new technology. So we don't come in and disrupt in a way that says our hardware will change your practice. It's our hardware will amplify your practice. And so our perspective is very much driven by what's already going well in the classroom and helping change. But Joe, you and I both know that technology is a catalyst.
Yep.
And it's also an amplifier in a way that perhaps not everybody wants. If you have a little bit of struggle with your classroom management, technology is going to be a magnifying glass on that one. So in that way, it promotes positive change as well when properly implemented, excuse me. So at Samsung, I find myself in the display division, and we have everything from the curb side of a school to the hallway to the kiosks at the front office, throughout the building and right into the classroom with amazing technology that promotes student engagement and is an opportunity to amplify student work as well. As we think about a paperless world, I was so excited to go paperless before the pandemic, and I would, toot my own horn about all the hours I saved, not standing at the photocopier and all that. But it turns out that's old news now. With the pandemic, forced disruption took place. We found many of us were paperless at this point. But what about student work? It's like at home as a dad, I put my kid's certificate of achievement on the fridge. We know that in our classrooms, it's the same thing. When we go paperless, well, what do we do now? And I think that's a place for digital. It's a place for digital displays to, as they get faster, brighter, cheaper, easier to install. It's an opportunity for us to show student work and engage them in that way in their own environment of their making.
I love that. I think, when you go to a conference and you see digital signage everywhere and that sign is going around, you're like, why can't that be in not only in the halls of a school? Why can't that be something, a focal point in the classroom? And I've always been a proponent of, a non-static, right? Because you would have teachers that spend hours putting up the best posters and the best decorations for when the kids come in, they go, but after a while, it all becomes static. It just becomes part of the classroom. It doesn't evolve. And I think what you're seeing is you're talking about an evolving classroom through digital signage that can really amplify and showcase student learning and creations every day. Is that what you're saying?
I am, and I've had two really cool conversations about it. One was a New York City principal was sharing with me a couple of weeks ago that he wanted signage outside of every classroom so that the teacher in the classroom had a place to put student work so people could walk by and see the amazing things going on. And I really appreciate that because it gives a window into the classroom, which is perhaps another side story. As classroom teachers, we close the door and amazing things happen inside there. But because we're in a passion-driven industry, we don't really brag as much as perhaps we should because it will promote better practice in our communities. So that was kind of cool. The other is I was speaking with my wife, who's a Spanish teacher, and she was in a faculty meeting for a department meeting for her languages other than English instructors. And they were talking about their project with student memes. So they're using meme creation to teach languages other than English. And so she wanted to display the student memes around the building of the school. I'm like, those are case studies that are exactly right on. And we all need to shift our practice that way because it's not about us creating the most beautiful stuff. It's about our students creating brilliant, authentic artifacts that can be shared throughout a school.
I love that idea as well because there's so many great digital creation tools that are out there that really amplify student creativity and creation, right? Like Canva's out there. You have some really great Adobe Express, and those can be digitally created signs, digitally creating memes that can be then pushed out to the rest of the campus, and that can really just create great culture of community on a campus, and the students are just proud of where they go to school. And I think what you said really shows that. And I think when you get administrators to see the power in that, then they start recognizing the power in displays. And I think that's what it lies.
Totally. And it's funny being a classroom teacher for 22 years. I was well accustomed to having pretty awesome technology that I had to reverse engineer for instructional purposes. If you think of like the overhead projector that was made for bowling alleys and we figured out how to use it in the classroom, like that same thing. Well, there's some amazing content management software available at Samsung. Some of it we're working on releasing some cloud-based ones pretty soon that are designed for, McDonald's to push out signage. But hey, why can't my students use the exact same software? I mean, I'm like, really? No. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, trust me, this is for kids. So I'm excited to help be that bridge between the enterprise and corporate space to providing more tools, access, and opportunities for our students.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I'm glad to hear Samsung is on board with that because when you have a business-driven industry, you don't really have experts in education. That's why they go out to look for experts like yourself to show them, hey, you're using this over here in this industry. It can be utilized this way in the education experience. Let's try it that way. I love that because you're not inventing something new. You're inventing a new way to push it out, a new way to unveil it.
Yeah, and that partnership, I'm really pleased that Samsung recognizes the power of what they call voice of customer. So we talk to teachers about their teaching experience. We talk to administrators about their administration experiences and how it relates to our products and how we can improve. And we take that the next step further. When we work with schools, we reach out to them if they want to continue this relationship and amplify it with case studies. And by case study, I'm an old school researcher. Case studies, to me means writing a very long paper. At Samsung, it means a professionally produced video. So we have one I wanted to share with you at Christopher Columbus High School in Florida. And they are doing amazing things in what we call a connected campus. So let's watch this clip and we'll talk a little bit about the curbside to the classroom and the innovation at this school and how it helps us think about our teaching and practice as well.
Perfect. Let's take a look.
What sets Christopher Columbus High School apart from every other school, it's the brotherhood, it's the family atmosphere. Our phrase is adelante. We're always pushing ahead, we're always moving forward.
I chose Samsung as our technology provider because I was looking for a company who was not only very reputable, but one that could provide enterprise level experience for our users. Anywhere that there is a display, it is a Samsung product across our campus. Those are all offices, our gymnasiums, our wellness centers, our sports medicine areas, our locker rooms, auditoriums. That's a total of around 300 displays that we have on campus.
Christopher Columbus High School's original requirements was to standardize on a manufacturer. Samsung was the perfect partner for Christopher Columbus High School. Part of the reason being is we have a robust, comprehensive product portfolio dedicated to education, everything from desktop monitors to interactive flat panels to direct view LED. So as you can imagine, Christopher Columbus always had technology edge above and beyond their direct competition. What's nice about Samsung is we had an interactive flat panel that filled their void, was compatible, was capable to do what they needed to do. We started with the interactive flat panels in the classroom and it grew from there.
What I like the most about the Samsung interactive displays is that I've been teaching here a long time and I've gone through a lot of different products. This is an all-in-one solution to what I've always wanted. Whether it's on the board, writing notes, whether it's displaying through the HDMI cable, it works, and it works well. My favorite thing to do with the Samsung interactive boards is casting from my laptop or my tablet. It changes the game for me. I'm no longer tied to the front of the classroom. I can teach anywhere I want. The kids feel more connected to me because I'm not preaching at them, I'm having conversations with them. It gives the kids more of a sense of me being present. I get to connect with them more, and also I get to see what they're doing from different areas. When you're teaching a kid and you're next to him, it means a lot more than being from across the classroom and having them speak.
The student experience and the teacher experience has really elevated because now it's the same experience no matter where they go, and we want the screens and the information at hand to be consumed at a moment's notice, and the Samsung displays really allow us to do that.
We have to constantly be pushing the boundary of what kids are going to be doing when they graduate. The jobs that they're going to be taking on don't exist right now. And there's no way for us to prepare them for those jobs. But if we give them the right tools and show them how to use these tools, the sky's the limit. It doesn't matter what job. They might be creating their own job because of the skills we taught them with our displays, with our technology in the classroom. Pushing the boundary of technology is one of the most influential things teachers can do right now. The Samsung interactive boards give all the kids the opportunities that they need to grow.
Wow, first off, that high school is amazing. I mean, like I saw that weight room. I'm like, holy moly, that's fantastic. I mean, that high school is amazing. What I absolutely love about it is the entirety of the display platforms on campus are all Samsung. Because you don't see that very often. You see, like, I'm going to buy some this year, and then next year, oh, this one's a better price, so I'm going to buy this one. To have a consistent platform across a campus probably has to be fantastic, not only for IT, but for implementing new ways to push things out, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's the power of Samsung. I mean, we are the one company out there, if I could brag for a moment, that has the capability of providing an entire school ecosystem, from Chromebooks to tablets to interactive boards to display. We can do it all, and I don't think anybody else can. If my research is correct, pretty awesome. But we also take the approach of working with schools with what they've got going on. If they're a school that's really excited about the fruit of them that we don't speak of, then hey, we work with the fruit. We can do that, no problem. If they're a Google school, no problem. We can work with Google. We're used to building hardware platforms that take advantage of other people's software. So, with that mantra, our needs assessment is all right, what are you already doing? What's going well? What's not going well? How can we fix that? And how can we help you just do more with what you've already got and really stretch your budget as a school? Some things that are really cool about this that video really highlighted is you've got our technology being used to help students compose music, to learn history, to write research papers. You also saw broadcasting. I ran a broadcasting group at my school for about 3 years, and it was so humble. It was like Wizard of Oz green screen technology, but we had so much fun. Let me tell you that if you're ever looking to do a club at your school, the morning announcements with eighth graders, what could go wrong? I did it live every time. Everybody thought it was nuts. I go, you know what's nuts? It's not doing it live and trying to record it and edit it every day. But anyhow, that's a whole different story. But then you look at this school, these guys, they're just doing amazing work. They actually are involved in a national broadcasting competition where they they compete with their broadcasts, which I think is so, so cool. The other thing that really is kind of out there is something to pay attention to is, I don't know if you noticed the gym scoreboard. The scoreboard had a basketball game, had the score of the basketball game on it, which is fine. But that exact scoreboard could be used for an esports game. The whole thing all of a sudden becomes a very, very big screen to display an esports game. How cool is that? That you can use the technology and use it in multiple ways, and then your school gymnasium becomes an esports arena. That's a little cheaper than building a brand new arena, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's like a multimedia place because you can now have, you can have multiple things happening, like school dances in there. You can have assemblies in there, and then that screen can be used for all of it. And it's not just a scoreboard, with just the blinking lights sitting in the background doing nothing during all those other events, right?
You got it. You got it. And I coached basketball for about 12 years. And let me tell you, some of that old tech training people how to do it, it's like zeros and ones technology. You basically had to use the Konami code to change the score. So it's a bit nuts. I hope I got a couple of Konami code people out there. But anyhow, I also want to highlight practice here. So as we said, technology amplifies practice. So if we bring an interactive screen to the front of the room, for example, it doesn't mean a classroom teacher should have their back to the students more than usual, because we know what happens when your back is to the students. Not much. So it's important that we have our stage presence, our shoulders squared, and we're facing our students. So that's important. So how do we do that? How do we untether or unbound a classroom teacher? And this is where I think the magic of Samsung comes into place. We have a technology that's like, if we refer to the fruit, we could talk about AirPlay. So you cast AirPlay to the front of the room, right? Fine, good. Casting is super important. But what if you cast it to an interactive board and then you walked over to that board and all of a sudden it's interactive and you're engaging? And that's what we can do at Samsung with what we call DEX, DEX, desktop experience. And desktop experience is basically casting that's bi-directional, and it does not use the router. So now we're communicating directly to the board using Wi-Fi Direct, not the internet. And that Wi-Fi Direct, it makes my board into an Android display. An Android, come on.
That's mind-blowing because...
Can I stop there? I'll just drop my mic and walk away.
I'll tell you why it's mind-blowing, because I have seen so many interactive displays where you need to connect your computer to it with an HDMI. And then if you want the touch to work, you have to plug in an old USB with the old printed USB end into the screen. Then it will kind of work. But now you're tethered to the front. You're saying you can cast in a bi-directional way without having any wires needing to be plugged in.
Yeah, I mean, using on a PC, you can use, I'm learning PC. I was all about the fruit until June 1st, and then I went cold turkey. So on a PC, it's Windows K, and so that activates what's called Mirrorcast. You don't have to be connected. With a Samsung tablet or phone, you use DeX, and DeX allows you to cast, again, bi-directional. None of it is tethered. It's absolutely amazing. To me, it's a game changer. So now I'm a classroom teacher. I can take my phone. I can walk around the room. I can cast to the front of the room. And the phone is the brains. The boards is the interactivity. And the board actually by default becomes an extended display. So if I'm playing a video to the front of the room, my very same phone or tablet can be used to take attendance or to engage with formative assessment as I wander around the room, still powering what's happening in the front. Set it down. Maybe I'm using Sphero or doing some blocky coding off a Google Play Store app. That app is in the front of the room. The more we can mirror exactly what a student is doing in the front of the room, but they're doing at their seat, the more we have true modeling, which increases knowledge retention. We know that, the way our cognition works. If modeling is really going to be the best, it's got to be an exact replica of what's happening. And so this allows us to do that. It's actually really amazing technology. I was shocked about it when I joined Samsung. I had never heard of DeX before. It was originally designed to be plugged into your phone so that your phone could go to a monitor and you could use a keyboard. And therefore it was kind of like having a laptop with you. But, classroom teacher, we hack things. Yeah. I'm like, hang on a second. What does this do with my interactive board? And I cast it up there and I was like, wait a second. This is pretty amazing. So at Q, if you see myself and some of my education coach colleagues wearing a shirt that says, ask me about DeX, your viewers here will have the inside scoop.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic. Before I joined Q, and after I left the classroom, I worked for an organization. I'm not going to mention any names, but they were always talking about touchscreen displays at the front of the classroom. And I said, the only way this is going to work is if you have a casting solution that allows you to have not only the ability to cast, but use the interactive display at the same time. And they're like, well, that's not possible. There's nothing that does it. Yeah. So when you're telling me about DeX, that it does that, that's mind blowing.
Yeah. And we know good teaching practice. We're not locked into the front of the classroom. However, I do need to say we have an education, thought leadership. We've often talked about sage on the stage versus guide on the side. And I think it's dangerous to say versus, because think about the power of storytelling. Not only for the message of the story, but the relationship building. We can all think of a teacher that told a great story. You may not remember the stories, but remember the passion behind the story, and it linked us to that person in some way. So from a relationship standpoint, there's a strong connection, I think, to good practice in storytelling. So I wouldn't call it sage on the stage versus guide on the side. I call it or, right? Or, if you will. So this really supports that, because the front of the classroom is also a place where we give directions, where we lead discussions, where we provide summary. One of my first principals I had as a teacher a billion years, decades ago at this point, Joe, I'm getting old, said to me, Micah, when you're giving directions to your students, I see you wander around the room, and that's nice. But if you always give the directions from the same physical location in the room, it takes the cognitive load off the students, and it will increase their understanding that, oh, now it's time to hear some directions. So that although that's old school, it turns out it's good practice. So the front of the classroom still has a really good place in education. But when we can amplify untethering, allowing people to go around the room, we're making some pretty cool changes. And the technology is making the changes. Now it's up to us to adopt those.
I love it. I think we have a video here that shows DeX a little bit more in action. So let's go ahead and see what we can find out right here. So let's take a look right here. Here we go. DeX in action. Let's take a look.
The future of education is all about flexible and collaborative learning environments, ones that engage students in person, hybrid, and virtually, without tethering the teacher to a single spot in the classroom. Samsung interactive displays and DeX-enabled Samsung tablets are the perfect duo. An interactive whiteboard creates unique, engaging learning opportunities, while DeX empowers communication between displays, monitors, laptops, and tablets for one powerful classroom experience. A DeX educator can use their Samsung tablet with any educational app in the Play Store, or use it as a webcam, mic, document scanner, and presentation tool. They can have bi-directional control with their Samsung interactive display and maintain independent use of the tablet for taking attendance and notes on the interface or with the S Pen. The expanded versatility of a multitasking, multi-touch display brings lessons to life. and connects students, teachers, and the world beyond the classroom like never before. Empower your teaching with the most versatile solution available: Samsung DeX and interactive displays.
You're pretty excited, aren't you? Are you feeling it? I'm excited. I got the goosebumps. It's a nice calming video. I think it should have more flames and maybe some dry smoke or something, dry ice smoke. But other than that, it's pretty cool. I mean, this is amazing. I want to show everybody at Q at our booth, swing by so I can share that with you, because seeing it in your own hands, that tangibility is just going to really amplify that. I do want to wrap, Joe, and talk about one last thing we're doing. We're building a platform for educators. We're in beta right now. We're always looking for educators that are interested in joining us in this early launch. Thanks for putting that link up here at the bottom. Go ahead and fill out if you're interested in joining us. We want to create a free place for teachers to share ideas. It's behind a login wall for free. The purpose is to keep the trolls out, protect the sanctity. I love the word sanctity, the sanctity of our community, and allow us to just think and share openly about improving our own practice. I think as a teacher, that changed who I was, and definitely. With some real old schoolers who would help me daily. Imagine the best of the best helping each other across the planet. It's only going to get better for children.
No, and I love it. That the best way to be able to amplify what's going on in the classroom is to be able to amplify all of our voices. And what one person is doing in this neck of the woods, another person may not have even thought about that. And by posting that idea into a community, you are really igniting something that can really catch fire. And I think it's extremely smart of Samsung to create this because, Micah, like you said, it's the teachers who are going to look at these technologies with their teacher brain and say, how can I make this work for my students, my class, my campus, my district? That's where the innovation comes in. And I think it's amazing you have this community to allow that communication and community to take hold.
Preach. We should record that snippet and have you just repeat that multiple times. You did a good job. You should be our hype man, our community hype man.
Well, I appreciate that. I do my best. But I'll tell you, I just get really excited when I see something that actually works. Because we see so many things that are promised to work and have all these bells and whistles, and it just turns into a really expensive display. But when it's something that can evolve, when it's something that can be ingrained into the daily lesson, not just a part of the daily lesson, I think that's where the power of technology really comes into hold.
I use the word adopt versus integrate, because if we adopt technology and we adopt strategies or innovation or change, then we own it, or it becomes part of us. And that's different than integrate, which kind of feels like we're forcing it. So that's what we want. We want to adopt change for kids, right?
Absolutely. And we're excited, Micah, that you're going to be at Spring Q for the first time. We're excited Samsung is going to be there. And you did say that DeX is going to be there to be able to be shown, right? You're going to be able to see it and play with it and see how this amazing technology works, right?
Yes, sir. Believe it. Ask me about DeX.
Ask Micah about DeX. Okay, everybody, ask him and give him a high five for being there at Spring Q, because it's always amazing to see the first time for everyone, and they just like, wow, this is a great conference. So Micah, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your insight and everything you've done for education, past, present, and future. And I'll make sure I stop by the Samsung booth to ask you about DeX.
Thanks, Joe. Bye, everybody.
Right.
See you soon.
Thank you, Micah. It's amazing. So Mike is an amazing educator. He's a great person to take what Samsung is doing and truly showcase how this technology will work in the classroom, in the campus halls, in the districts, and truly be utilized in an effective way. And that's key. When technology can be utilized in an effective way, it is working. And by all look of this, it looks like something that I've been dreaming about for a while. That bi-directional casting, that interactive, I can't wait to stop by Samsung's booth, and I hope you can't wait to stop by Samsung's booth either. And I hope you can't wait for Spring Q to be here in just a few short days. Just like you go by Samsung's booth and give Micah a high five, if you see me running or wandering around the campus, please make sure you give me a high five as well. And if you see anybody wearing these shirts, the Q Live crew, they are there to interview you and ask you how your spring Q is going. So they're not just crazy people, they're crazy people with a purpose. Those are educators, just like we are every single day. Have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful